Welcome to Muscular Minds Podcast, where we want to build mental toughness and resilience for you, your family, your faith, and your future. Thanks for joining us today.
All right, welcome into Muscular Minds. This is your host, Jared Dane. We are excited to be here tonight. As always, we focus on resilience and mental fitness, and we talk to different people to kind of get ideas on how to be more resilient, more confident in the things that we do. Today, we're talking to both a physical fitness trainer and an owner of his own gym, and we're excited about having Austin Alexander here today. And so let's get started. And just I want to let Austin introduce himself, tell us a little bit about himself and his gym, and maybe what got him interested in getting into fitness in the first place. Go ahead, Austin.
Yeah. Hey, happy to be here. I'm a private strength and conditioning coach as a title and private bodybuilding coach. I own Alexander Fitness here in Searcy, Arkansas. Just had my 1-year anniversary last month on the 16th of August. So still relatively new, but we're kicking it strong over here. As far as getting into fitness goes and wanting to own my own gym, that can be as long of a story as you'd want it to be, but I'll be relatively brief. We can go in detail later if you'd like. From a personal level, I always say, fitness saved my life. Lots of different things happened in my life at a, relatively early age, I would say, and at some pivotal moments, of course it brought a lot of anxiety, depression, anger issues, and I'd always had a foot in the fitness door being an athlete since I was old enough to walk, playing different sports. So I was always exercising in a way. And one day in college, just kind of, I always say I worked out at the right time. So when at the right time, it just kind of clicked. That's the way, I have no other way of describing it. It just clicked. And then I realized, okay, this is an outlet for me, or this can be an outlet for all of this stuff that I've kept bottled up inside of me. So fitness saved my life. And then it finally got to the point where, okay, now I would like to give back because I experienced this wonderful thing, all these numerous benefits that fitness can bring at such a deep personal level. I couldn't help but want other people to experience it too. So that's where the whole wanting to own a gym thing came in.
Great. Awesome.
God opened some doors. So
yeah, I am excited that you're giving back and the way your motivation kind of like prompts you to want to do that. I'd really love to hear, when you say fitness saved my life, did you find just that it was allowed you to channel yourself in a way that you hadn't been able to do before, or have an outlet that you didn't have? It seems like you said it clicked with you. So tell me a little bit more, if you're okay, about
sure,
how fitness saved your life.
Absolutely. So yeah, you basically said it, an outlet. When people go through things, anxiety, depression, anger was my biggest thing, anger issues. There's so many different things out there that can be an outlet. And most of those things in the world don't lead to, good outcomes, you name it, alcohol, drugs, getting in with the wrong crowds, a lot of those things can just be self-destroying, basically, which is why I'm thankful that I, already had a foot in the fitness door from my sports background. So I had always went through the motions, even after ending my sports career in high school, just because, it's all I knew. Did I know that it was necessarily helping keep me at bay as far as my anger and everything and depression and everything? No. But I do believe that simply going through the motions kept me just on the right path just long enough until that day that I told you about, where it kind of just clicked. I went at the right time. And then I realized, okay, this is what I can channel all this into. That's how that whole process began. So then from that point forward, every exercise or every workout that I had, I went in there with the mindset and the realization that this is what's happening. I am putting all of my negative emotions, my anger, everything into the weights so that I don't have to take it outside of this gym and put it on my relationships with other people. I get all my anger out here so that I can be a better person out there. So
did you consciously know? Because I work with lots of young men, and we talk about channeling your anger through physical activity sometimes is very helpful. And if we're anxious, sometimes just doing something physical helps us work out of that anxiety a little bit. So those are conversations I have all the time. But I'm curious, did you know that when you were feeling that agitation and anger, that that was the place that you needed to go channel it was in the gym and to working out, or did you just kind of like figure that out along the way?
I figured it out along the way. Well, that's the best way to put it. Did I know, looking back, the benefit of hindsight? Absolutely. Even when I was just going through the motions, not knowing that it was helping me, keeping me just sane enough. Looking back, yes, absolutely. That is what I was channeling, even though I didn't know it. And then, of course, after, that day where it clicked for me and I was in the gym for 4 hours, I knew for a fact that this is what I was doing. This is where I can go. This was my safe place, basically.
Great. I appreciate too the transparency too. Like it's
Yeah.
hard to get on it and talk about, hey, these were things that I was dealing with, and my fitness is kind of my story on kind of getting out of a dark place in your personal life. So I absolutely appreciate the transparency on that. I love that. I do have a question. If because a lot of us we want to be physically fit, we want to be more confident in ourselves. And a lot of times that happens through our physical fitness. And we'll check the boxes on New Year's resolution. I want to do this and that and the other.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think hinders us from maybe really following through and doing those New Year's resolutions? Because most of us, even if we start, we don't finish. So what
Right.
is an obstacle that keeps us from maybe doing it that you observe?
Man, the biggest thing that I've come to realize with those situations, it comes down to discipline, or in those cases, the lack thereof. And I don't mean that in a negative connotation by
That's
any
fine.
means, because, and I have the benefit of working with a lot of athletes. So I also get to view things from that lens as well, and comparing the two. Why is it sometimes easier to train this group compared to the other group? And it always comes down to goals, right? This group over here, they have clear goals to perform better, to get better at their sport. This group, sometimes the goal simply is to get healthier. Okay, what does that look like? So New Year's comes around, you're motivated, highly motivated. Yeah, it's a new year, new me. Let's get this rolling. You start strong, and then motivation starts to fade. And then where discipline's supposed to take over, those people they haven't developed that skill. And I say skill because it's a skill. Discipline, absolutely, in my opinion, is a skill, because even me just went through my story. Fitness saved my life. Working out saved my life. There's some days I don't want to work out. This morning is a perfect example. My time had a lot of sessions in the evening when I usually like to work out myself. So the only time I could go was right after work, waking up. I don't like waking up at any time. Definitely don't like going and training while I'm still waking up, but I had to do it. So I did it. So it's a discipline thing. So motivation's always going to fade. It's always going to fade 100% of the time. I always say, don't rely on motivation. You got to train your discipline. And that's huge.
Well, basically kind of having a consistency, a routine about it. In the same way that I develop any routine in my life, if I want to be successful, I've really got to develop some good habits, whether it's eating
Absolutely.
right or exercising. Yeah. And so I've heard you reference your faith a couple of times. And I'm even thinking as a lot of people integrate faith into discipline and routine, like maybe they have a prayer life or they have a Bible study life. How do you think faith integrates into physical fitness, or how does it serve to help motivate or whatever, get people over difficult spots? What do you observe, or how have you kind of felt that personally about it?
So for me, I looked at it through almost a scientific lens, and stay with me now, because this will all turn to faith. If you look at exercise from a scientific level, and I don't mean just exercise as in going in here, lifting, all the weight you can lift, doing 10 exercises for an entire hour and sweating everything out. I don't mean just that kind of exercise. I mean simply going outside for a sunset walk, brisk pace, 20 minutes, that kind of exercise. Even something as seemingly small as that, if you look at a biological chemical level, all the stuff that goes on in your brain and your body, just from something as small as that, and all the benefits that arise from that, looking at as a man of faith. And that kind of made me realize that we are created to exercise in some capacity, because to me, those benefits are just proof of it, right? going outside and walking for 20, not even 20 minutes sometimes, 10 minutes is perfect, right? But all those benefits that happen just from a mental standpoint, a physical standpoint, I do really believe that we were created to be, people who exercise because, it heals us. It really does heal us. And I think looking at it from that lens, some people, it'll make it easier to develop those habits. But I also think looking at it from that lens will help us pursue it just a little more, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I love the analogy of healing. And I don't think I've ever really understood it that way. And if I think about as my body heals sometimes, whether it's from a cut or a bruise, sometimes it's kind of ugly in the process or it's painful. But then the finished result, is like I'm back to myself in healing. I'm trying to get to the best version of myself. So I love that. I think that's great. And
And if
I
I
want to
can,
ask too, go ahead.
if I can interject, just going, kind of piggybacking off of your healing
Yeah,
idea,
absolutely.
coming from an athletic, strength and conditioning coach lens, more and more studies are showing now that, you get injured, stay off of it completely, don't do anything. But now we're starting to see, actually doing as much as you can, right, from an exercise standpoint will actually help that healing process a lot faster. It'll help it a lot more efficiently. And then, of course, you'll come back not as far behind too. So, even healing the actual physical, muscles, ligaments, whatever, doing exercise actually helps that as well. So just piggybacking off of that point, the healing idea for sure.
And I think one of the things that I try to focus on here on my podcast and the website is this idea that it's not just mental fitness, it's physical fitness, it's spiritual fitness, and they kind of go together. And I think we're kind of trying to connect those today. And so I do want to ask how being physically fit or even trying to get physically fit creates mental resilience, confidence, toughness. I mean, it may seem obvious to people, but like, how do you see that either developed or get started?
Man, going into, let's skip over. Honestly, let's not even skip over it. Let's start from the beginning. Simply going to a new place. A lot of people, the gym is a scary place, and rightfully so, right? Some places can be intimidating, especially if you've never been there before. I still get intimidated going to gym sometimes, and I've been doing this for years. But going to a new place, and then after crushing that goal, taking down that monster, if you will, pushing yourself through, a somewhat difficult lift, pushing weights that you don't think you can necessarily do, leaving that place, having conquered those goals that day in the gym, that absolutely boost your confidence because you have pushed yourself to limits that you didn't think were possible before. And sometimes you'll learn those limits are not even warm-ups sometimes. Like I'll have some of my kids in here for sure, my younger athletes, I'll throw a weight on the bar and they're like, I have no business lifting this. And I'm like, just do it. Right. And then they end up doing it for 8 reps. Like, oh, that was pretty easy. Right. So, just the simple act of going in and pushing yourself and accomplishing goals and doing hard things is huge in terms of developing confidence and in yourself mentally. And I could go on and on.
No, I want to say that I think you're onto something because a lot of us are anxious. We're afraid of the gym. We're afraid of what people are going to think. I don't know how to use the machine. I don't know how to put these weights on. I don't even know how many reps I'm supposed to do. And so it feels super intimidating. And most of us, when we're anxious or fearful or afraid, we're not going to lean into that. We're going to lean away from that.
Exactly.
We're going to
We're going to get
avoid
as
that,
far away as we can, right? Yeah.
even though it might be exactly what we need to overcome some of our personal demons or struggles to do the healing we need to do, whether it's physically, emotionally, spiritually. Maybe we get some of that from that physical workout, or like you, channeling it like you did to help you with manage your mental health, your anger. And I just think that's a great point. But like so many of us just want to push it away because it seems it's too stressful to think about. I don't want to do it.
Yeah. And one way to look at it, it's, the world, turn on your phone, turn on social media, turn on the news. The world is full of things who want to bring you down, right? Who want to just keep pushing you down, pushing you down, pushing you down. And The gym, fitness, working out, kind of the same idea. I can't remember the famous graduation speech where the guy's main point was make your bed in the morning, right? That way, when you come home, boom, you haven't made beds. Small wins. That's the idea I'm getting towards. Going to the gym, pushing yourself, doing one exercise and pushing yourself really hard. That is a small win. And you stack one small win on top of another small win, on top of another small win. Eventually, you got a big mountain to stand on to combat all of the negative out there. That to me is one of the biggest points. How many positives can I stack in this session to help me stand above the negative that's out there?
Also, I think just the mindset of trying to be positive when there's a lot of negative that grinds us down. And I don't think any of us would say, hey, this phone is a negative thing, right? But it absolutely can, even if it's not negative, the things I'm doing on my phone, or I'm not taking in a lot of negativity through, whether I'm getting, having to deal with negative media or comments or feedback on my social media. It's just the fact that it's a huge distraction and it sucks up a lot of my time that keeps me from being maybe productive in other ways, specifically taking care of the one and only body that I have, that I'm going to need for a long, long time. And
Exactly.
being physically fit is going to help me do that.
Exactly. This is the only body we're going to have. And going back to the faith idea, you hear arguments all the time. Your body is your temple. Piggybacking off of that idea, why not take care of it, right? If this is our only body we're going to have, if this is a temple, if we're a reflection of the God whom we serve, why not take care of it, right?
So my question is, if we have been afraid or scared or nervous, we don't know where to start on a physical workout, we're not going to look all buff like you do, but like, what's one exercise or one place I could start that might make it easier for me to get started being physically fit?
One place to
One exercise, one thing I could do, like what would help me maybe just kind of start edging that direction, being more physically fit? You could do favorite exercise, but like if I just show up in your gym and I've never done anything before, where are you going to put me? What are you going to start me on?
If you come to my gym and you've never done anything before, I am going to take you to the dumbbell rack and I'm going to have you do some simple curls. It's easy to do. It's a one joint motion. In the fitness realm, arm pumps cure depression and all that. It's something easy. It's easy to progress. It's easy to see progress on. But from a more, I guess, functional standpoint, an exercise I think everyone should at least attempt to learn how to do would be some form of a squat, right? Because if you look at all the different patterns that our body does, we push and we pull vertically, horizontally, we bend down a lot, but the main thing we do is we sit down and we stand up. So what does any kind of squat variation train? Your ability to sit down and stand up. So the better those muscles work, I think long term, I think you would see the most benefit if we would have to gauge and put things into a tier list. That would be one of the higher tiers, because we sit down and stand up hundreds of times a day, some people more so, but that would be something I would say, get in there and learn some squat pattern. But to go a step further, you're anxious to the gym, you don't know what you're doing. First thing I would say is simply go, right? Trial by fire. You don't learn to swim by reading about it. You learn to swim by jumping in and swimming, right? So just go in and do it. At the end of the day, you'll be happy you did. So that's a win in and of itself. But also find the biggest, scariest person there. And when they're not lifting, make sure they're resting in between sets. Talk to them. Ask them, say, hey, what did you do to get like this? What can you teach me? Help me out a little bit here. Whatever that conversation needs to look like, I can almost guarantee you the scariest person in there will be the most helpful, and they were the person who would love to help you the most. Because 9 times out of 10, they look like that for a reason. They probably have dealt with stuff in their lives. They obviously have had to go through a lot to develop the discipline to reach that point in their physical health. So 9.5 times out of 10, they want to help other people do it too. So
I hadn't even thought about that, because to me, most of us look at somebody like that and, hey, that person is kind of unapproachable. They're probably, going to be annoyed or agitated if I try to talk to them. What you're saying is, in your experience, most of those people super friendly, probably been through something and just want good things for other people.
And that goes, a bodybuilding background as well. People say, oh, bodybuilding gyms are scary and the big people are scary. No, we're probably the nicest people there, right?
Yeah. All right. I appreciate that. I don't think I'd ever really thought about it like that. I think most of us try to avoid those guys, the people that look like they've been doing it a long time. And like, I could never look like that. But I think you're also pointing out that, hey, we need mentors, encouragement, people to kind of show us the way. And so
Absolutely.
sometimes we got to ask the person who's already ahead of us how they got there and get some tips, get some wisdom. So I like that.
Absolutely. The rookie on the football team's got to learn from the veteran. Same idea.
Exactly. So what, I guess I would just ask you, what's kind of one person that you felt like you really looked up to, either in your fitness world or personal world, that's kind of motivated you to kind of either get into fitness or stay fit? Or who would you kind of point to?
There's a couple, man. It depends on the time, I guess you could say. One for me who's kind of always been there would be my best friend for years and years and years. His name's Skylar. He's been working out in bodybuilding longer than me, but he was always the one who would talk to me about exercise even before I was really into fitness. He was the one who was, check out this exercise or check out this guy here or this thing here. And then, of course, when I got into fitness, when I still didn't quite know what I was doing, I reached out to him, said, hey, can you make me a workout plan? Help me out. What do I need to do here, here, here? He was that guy that helped me out. Still to this day, we, send exercises to each other. We talk about each other's progress. He's prepping for a bodybuilding show right now. So he's sending me his updates, telling me how it's all going. That's definitely someone who I would say the most consistently has been someone I have looked up to in a way, who has kind of been there with me through this journey for
What
sure.
I'm hearing too with that is it's important to maybe have some accountability or a support buddy, somebody that's working out. So kind of gives you someone to kind of bounce things off, whether it's ideas or just the fact that, hey, they're in the gym. I need to go to the gym. I can't give up. They're not giving up. So just that support and accountability.
Accountability is huge. I train athletes in person, but I'm a bodybuilding coach, kind of online, fitness coach online. So I have some online clients and most of it genuinely is just accountability, making sure, how are we doing? Right? Are we doing this? Today you have this, I've seen progress here. I haven't seen progress here. What's up? Does something need to change? But man, accountability is huge. And a lot of people don't realize that, just the value of not having someone looking over your shoulder, but in a way, like knowing, okay, if I don't do this, this person's going to know. And on the flip side, if I do this, that person's going to be right there and they're going to be the first person to congratulate me if I do something good, right? So it's not just negative, oh, they're going to get me if I don't work out, but sure, they're going to motivate you and say, hey, let's get rolling here, right? But at the same time, they're going to be the first in line to congratulate you as well. So, it goes hand in hand. And a lot of people undervalue or underscore the value of simple accountability.
I think something that I think I've been referred to is just like sometimes we got to push ourselves a little bit. And I heard you at the beginning talk about kind of getting through hard things. And we do want to avoid things sometimes that are uncomfortable. So whether it's our mental fitness, spiritual fitness, physical fitness, if it begins to get a little uncomfortable, the tendency is to want to stop or to bail out. I think what I'm hearing a little bit is sometimes I got to figure out a way to move forward, whether with support or accountability. And maybe I have to back it off. Maybe I'm just going to do my 10-minute walk, right? I don't have to do all those other things if it's a time thing or injury or whatever, but it's the fact that I keep kind of showing up every day. I kind of like try to get through these things, hold myself to where I want to go and have that support and encouragement for myself.
Absolutely. It's a journey and nobody's journey is the same. Like you said, injury, time, whatever, right? But, like I said before, stacking the little wins, stacking the little positives, at the end of the day, that's what it's about. It's not always about going in here and, hitting a PR on an exercise or, whatever, right? It's simply stacking the little wins, and those in the long run, huge, huge. Some days you might need to take that 10-minute walk. Some days you might need to just go in there and do one exercise and call it a day, right? You will get more out of that in the long run, even in the short run too. In some cases, you'll get more out of that than you will skipping out on it. So absolutely.
I love that. Austin, I appreciate you jumping on with this today. And is there anything you kind of want to give us, like a last word and kind of encouragement or ideas or wisdom as far as your perspective about physical fitness?
Yeah, what I would say, just do it, not to be cliche or, to sound whatever you want to put and fill in the blank there, but just do it. We are created to exercise. You can argue with the wall. I don't care. You will benefit so much mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually by just doing it, right? Yeah, it's scary. Yeah, it can be intimidating. Yeah, it's hard, but I got it on the wall in here. Do hard things, right? We got to get comfortable with doing the hard things, stacking the small wins into a mountain that we can stand above all the negativity that's outside of these walls. So simply just do it. You will not be sad that you did. You will not regret starting. That you never will. There's too much benefit that comes at every single level from exercise. You will not regret it ever, for sure.
I appreciate that. Austin, we appreciate you kind of getting on today and sharing with us about physical fitness. And as always, join our podcast here at Muscular Minds. And for any other updates, check out our website at muscularminds.com. And we'll catch you next time. Thanks for coming by.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining Muscular Minds today, where strength isn't measured by how much you lift, but who you lift up. And that starts with you.